It's nice to have everyone here on World Happiness Day. I'm Debbie Schlesinger-Hellman. Thank you for joining us, as we are so lucky to have all these joy, happiness experts with us. So let's get right to it and let me introduce everyone. With us today, we have Cindi. She is known as the Queen of Joy. Cindi is the author of the bestseller, More Joy, and a motivational speaker and founder of the MJC, More Joy Community. After facing her own struggles, she climbed her way out and found joy along the way. Now she helps others do the same. Cindi can be heard as a regularly featured guest in the media, spreading messages of joyful living. Cindi leads workshops and trainings for many organizations. Cindi was recently recognized as a Woman to Watch in 2023. Good for you, Cindi. Next, we have Meaghan Murphy. She is known for her high energy, upbeat personality, and yay lifestyle. Meaghan is a longtime national magazine editor, best-selling author, and TV personality, as seen on Live with Kelly and Ryan and Today. Currently the editor-in-chief of Women's Day, following 7 years as the executive editor of Good Housekeeping. Meaghan wrote Your Fully Charged Life, which Oprah Daily calls a book that'll make you feel good at the turn of every page. Yay! A New Jersey native, my kind of girl. She lives in Westfield, and when the certified trainer is not getting in her 10,000 steps, she's busy decorating for all the holidays and coming up with MacGyver-style life hacks. Want to hear more about that? We also have with us Rochel. Rochel is known as the Queen of Feeling Fabulous. Rochel is a successful business owner, as well as a 2-time best-selling author, international speaker, creator of the Brave, Bold, and Unstoppable Women Summits, and the owner of Blissful Living for You. Welcome, Rochel. And then we have Shari Alyse. Shari is known as America's Joy Magnet. Shari is a 2-time TEDx and professional speaker, host of the TV show The Joy Spot, best-selling author of Love Yourself Happy, and our very own Joy Reporter of the Year of Joy. Shari's regularly featured in the media as a guest expert on joy and self-love. We all need more of that. Shari's mission is simple: to help people reconnect back to their joy in what she refers to as Joy Revolution. Thanks, Shari. And we have Vicki O'Grady-Longo. Vicki is a joy leader and lover of people. She most enjoys having conversations with others, telling stories, hearing stories about joy, abundance, and gratitude. She feels it is important to do good work, and that comes with being happy, empowered, and motivated. If the culture is inclusive and people feel they belong, that is when people are engaged and feel accomplished. Vicki is a gratitude ambassador and feels joyful people make for better work environments, and with them increased workplace well-being and motivation. Welcome, Vicki. We are so lucky to have all of these women with us today, and I'm going to leave it to Andrew to get us going.
Thanks very much, Debbie, for the introduction. Just to give everybody a brief reminder of what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to ask our wonderful panelists soon to share with us their thoughts on the power of joy. And then we're going to move into a discussion around how people can build more joy in their life. So our wonderful experts are going to be sharing some great tips with you on how you can do that. And then we move into the Q&A part of it. And then for those who want to hang around, we're going to sort of open up the mics and have everybody share their own little stories of joy, which I'm looking forward to. But without further ado, I'd like to ask Cindi, as our first panelist, what is the power of joy?
Well, thank you so much, Andrew and Debbie, for the introduction. It was great. I really appreciate that. And I'm very excited to be here and share with you about the power of joy. When you see me right now, I'm radiating, glowing. All you see probably is joy bouncing off the screen at you. But guess what? It was not always like that. In fact, it wasn't that long ago that you would have found me in my bed most of the day, crying, upset, no energy, with if I did get out of bed, I would have tears in my throat, in my eyes. I could barely hold a conversation. I was in a extremely depressed, deep, dark stage of life, a valley, let's say. And it stemmed from multiple things. Primarily, though, it was a marriage issue among some other issues. And I just could not crawl my way out of it. And I'm normally, and I was born, as my sister will tell you, I was born happy. She knows that because she wasn't. So she was always envious that I had that happy demeanor. So I've basically always been an extremely happy, joyful, positive person until this situation. And I, for the life of me, could not, even with everything I know. I have a master's degree in counseling. I've counseled thousands of families over the years. But when it comes to yourself, sometimes you just can't do it alone. And that was me. So one day I had been in bed for quite a long time, and I was woken up in the middle of the night with a, "You were not designed for this. I did not design you for this. Get out of bed and find joy. Start being joyful. It is here. You are joy." Took me a while to grasp this whole thing. I'm just giving you the Reader's Digest version. So little by little, I learned what it was to have joy, to look for joy, to seek joy, to change my mindset and my behaviors, to live a life of joy. And again, it did not happen overnight. It was baby steps. But one thing I learned is that action, any action, when you're going to propel yourself forward, that it could be a small, tiny step, but you're still going forward and it's still a win. And I literally took just these little baby steps every day. And then eventually I got to a point where I was just overflowing with joy. And guess what? My life circumstances had not changed at all. The only one who changed was me. So that tells you we have the power to change despite any circumstances that you're going through. I know because I did it and I've seen other people do it. But it takes work and it takes effort and knowing what to do and being committed to it and realizing that it's a process. And then surrounding yourself with the right people. I can't stress that enough, that who you surround yourself with, your circle, your tribe, your people, are going to either propel you forward or backward, maybe the same, I don't know, but I choose to have people in my life that empower me, inspire me, uplift me, encourage me, support me. Like I don't know anyone else in my life other than that. So that when I'm still going to have days when I don't have more joy. Okay, that happens. That's a fact. Queen of Joy, mostly Queen of Joy, but there's plenty of times she's not Queen of Joy. She still lives life, and life happens and things happen that aren't always joyful. So I mean, like, I don't wake up in the morning and like roses fall from the sky, confetti gets thrown at me, horns. I mean, like, that's not my life. Okay. That is not who I am. That sounds really good though. I choose joy every day. And sometimes I even choose it by the minute, literally. Even now, there's days that I have to choose it, but I go through, now I know what to do. I go through the valleys and the bumps in the road, and I know what to do to keep moving forward through it instead of going backwards and getting myself in bed. Okay. So I guess today, the couple pointers that I really want to get across, which are, and this doesn't exactly relate to the story, but it really is super important to me. And it's something I wish I learned 30 years ago. And that's why I really want to share this with you. Another root of joy, but gratitude is the number one root of joy. And I'm sure a lot of people know that on this call. The more you're thankful and grateful for even those small things, the more your brain changes and everything becomes more positive and more grateful. But the other thing is, if you can finally get to a point in life where you can be your authentic self, when you're like exactly who you are at all times, like you don't care what other people think of you. And I know that's a huge thing for people. And it was huge for me too, my whole life. I was always acting as someone else or wanted to be someone else. I never embraced who I really was designed to be until much later in life. And had I done it way earlier, I would have been so much more joyful. Really, if you can get to a point where you come into yourself and you say, I am me, and being different and all the things about me that I'm different and unique is like fabulous. Like, I'm so awesome because you are. No one else is you. No one else is designed to be you. And so at the end of the day, if you just realize how awesome you are, you're going to have joy.
Meaghan, please tell us what is the power of joy in your eyes.
Yay. Okay. Hey, everybody. I'm going to set a timer for myself because I'm a talker and I do better like when I'm looking at a clock and I know I got 5 minutes. I'm setting. Ready? Ready? Here I go, guys. Start. Ah! Okay. So I grew up, my nickname was Grumpy, right? Like I was an inherently miserable child, had some really crappy things happen to me. Eating disorder, hospitalizations, best friend suicide, dad died of pancreatic cancer. I mean, like some crap stuff, right? And ultimately, I learned how to hack my happiness. I call it finding the yay, but my yay is my synonym for joy. And I find that damn yay every day with one little micro action at a time. For instance, I was looking in this Zoom and realized my hair and my makeup wasn't very yay, but if I put on my pink glasses, yay. Okay, I'm gonna give myself that little joy jolt because I do believe in what I call dopamine dressing. I said it first and I wrote about it in Oprah, and now it's like a popular phrase that I don't get credit for, which I have to say it's the one thing I'm a little bit salty about. But dressing up to feel up. So what I do is I take the science, like the science of enclothed cognition, and then I try to fun filter it. That's kind of my secret sauce as a magazine editor. So I dress up to feel up. I put these pink glasses on, guys, and I actually feel a little bit better. I'm looking at Cindi and you're yellow. I mean, you look sunny, right? When I dress the way I want to feel. And listen, the cool part about enclothed cognition is like, if head to toe black is what makes you feel sleek and powerful and in charge and amazing, awesome, wear head to toe black. For me, it usually involves emojis, lightning bolts, and anything like that kind of matches my book cover. And I think that finding a yay, and it was something for me, this practice, right? I always say the same way I trained at the gym, I trained and retrained my brain to prioritize positivity, to live with grit and grace and find more joy. And it's very much a daily practice of finding the yay and finding the joy. I have I talk about all my different rituals. I lean into the perma theory of wellness, and there are things I need to do on a daily basis to actually, jumpstart my joy. A lot of it is obviously gratitude based, but when I started to think about how do you have an attitude of gratitude and practice gratitude, I was like, wah, wah, that feels like homework. I don't want to journal. And I would write 3 things down I was grateful for, and then I'd want to throw up on my mouth and it was too much work. So I started what I call the yay list. And every day I ask myself and my kids what made us say yay today. It's pausing to appreciate, and it's practicing gratitude, but it's just my fun filtered, quirkier approach. Every Monday I buy myself flowers. It is one of those things that the flower power is my joy jolt every Monday. It doesn't matter what's happening. I'm going to Trader Joe's, and maybe I'm going to get those wooden flowers everybody's TikToking about, or maybe I'm just going to get my standard hydrangeas, but I'm going to buy myself flowers every stinking Monday. I'm going to move my body because I know when I move my body, I get that recharge. I know that I am gonna, hug my kids or pet my dog or call my mom or my sister or connect with another human being or walk to the grocery store and just have an interaction with the cashier, because human connection is a joy jolt. It's really just knowing that there are all these different techniques and tricks and tips and things that we can lean into that will bring us more joy on a daily basis, because it's a practice. I can't expect to have flat abs if I've never done a sit-up and eat pizza every night. I can't expect to be joyful if I don't have if I don't take these micro actions on a daily basis to inch the happiness needle forward. And I know that when I feel really sucky, which is some days, there are more micro actions that I need to take. Maybe I need to buy myself 2 dozen flowers. Maybe I need to get my nails done. Maybe I need to call my friend and say, please come for a walk with me because I need to like have a walkie-talkie and cry this shit out. What is it that we need to do? What are the things that, and those things change, which is kind of what's brilliant about it. Right now, walking 10,000 steps a day keeps my mind right. That fresh air, that time with my dog, I force myself to learn something on every walk, whether it's a podcast or whatever it is, but I'm trying to learn something new. It's whatever these little micro actions that we can take on a daily basis to inch the happiness needle and realize, like, if we want big picture happiness, we have to start training. And what does that look like? And I just always go back to my abs analogy or push-ups, right? I want to do push-ups, but I've never tried to do a push-up. Well, how can I ever expect to be strong, right? So you can't just say, like, I want to be happy. Like, no, how do you do happy? How do we learn how to do happy? What are the actions that we can take to inch the happiness needle forward? That's 5 minutes. But I have all the strategies and tips and tricks in my book because there's so dang many of them. And I think what's beautiful is what works for me might not be what works for Shari or what works for Cindi or what works for Vicki. Everybody's different. And our happiness formulas are unique as my pink glasses that do this. My job now, because I went 5 minutes and 14 seconds, my job is now to pass it to Rochel. Right? I did my job.
I got it. And I'm going to be like Meaghan. First of all, I want to correct all of you. My name is Rochel Marie, not Rochelle. And I am known as the Queen of Feeling Fabulous. And so let me set my timer because
pronounce it again because I want to get it right.
Rochel Marie.
Rochel.
Rochel Marie.
Rochel Marie. Always together.
Yes. That's
Got
it. No worries, no worries. People do it all. I've been doing it all my life. I have to blame that on my mother because her name is Rosemary. And so, of course, her daughter, she would do the honors of Rochel Marie, right? But anyways, I will talk and I'll go over my time. So I'm going to stay tight and concise. For me, joyful, I'm known as the Queen of Feeling Fabulous, and I do feel fabulous all the time. And it brings me joy. And for me, joy in finding and living your purpose frees you from having the expectations about the experiences in your life. Having expectations is one of the major causes of living a life unfulfilled and sadness, despair, and just being in a state of unhappiness. And when we're living in our joy, or when we live within our purpose, we are able to have joy in all kinds of moments that are unexpected. Living in your purpose is freeing to your mind, your body, and your spirit, and it's actually very orgasmic. And if you know what I'm talking about, then you know when you get to that point, it's joyful. It's like, so living in your purpose and doing your purpose is really, really joyful. And this frees you up to open the gateway to fully stepping into your life as it is meant for you to live. And I want to share a quick story with you all about joy. See, you can be really good at something, and that doesn't necessarily mean that that's your purpose. I was really good, and I'm a really good business owner, and I'm a really good multiple business owner, and I'm a really good, probably I say the best registered nurse that has emergency trauma background in the universe. I'm really good at that. So I'm running my business, and my business is in the telecommunications industry, and I was really good at it. But there was something missing. But when I would go and step into the emergency department and take care of my patients from the most traumatic to the least severe, I felt joyful. I felt that I was doing and fulfilling my purpose. My God-given talent was to help people to feel better in their most despair and most humbling and most traumatizing states. And I did that night after night with my shift. And I left each day in that morning feeling like I was completely satisfied because I did my best. Now, all the nights were always happy because emergency room trauma and flight nursing is not really a happy place. But for me, being in that space and knowing that I put a smile on someone's face that was coming out of a major car accident and having multiple traumas, that I was able to help a lady who was having a heart attack be relaxed and at ease, and teaching her breath work and meditation work to calm her heart and love her heart so that she didn't have to get admitted to the hospital. When I was able to hold a child's hand and look in their eyes and tell them not to be afraid as I stuck this big IV in them for the first time, that's what brought me joy. And so I just want to share with you all, if anything you're doing is not bringing you joy, kick it to the curb and do not be afraid to step into what is really meant for you to do. Because once you do that, you will have these orgasmic busts in you, like it's unbelievable. And you don't even have to have the sex part. You will just be able to create that orgasmic feeling within you, no matter what. And I'm Irish, so I'm part Irish. So Irish have to tell a story to tell a story. And I'm looking to see how many minutes I got. I don't have much, but the whole fact of the matter is, don't be afraid to step into doing what you want to do. Open up to the unlimited possibilities in your life. If you have to be, as you say, a game changer and tell people that's not what you want to do, if you want to just write books, or if you want to draw paintings or whatever it is, if that brings you joy, do it, because there's nothing more orgasmic than stepping into your own joy. So I saw this in Ireland. I had to get it. I have to share it with you guys. It's the Irish philosophy. And let me put on my glasses so I can see, and you guys will relate and laugh, but it'll bring joy to your face and in your hearts. There are two things to worry about. Either you're well or you are sick. If you're well, then there's nothing to worry about. If you're sick, there are two things to worry about. Either you will get well or you will die. If you get well, there's absolutely nothing to worry about. If you die, there are two things to worry about. Either you go to heaven or you go to hell. If you go to heaven, there's absolutely nothing to worry about. If you go to hell, you'll be so damn busy shaking hands with your friends, you won't have to worry about anything. So take that, ride that horse to the finish line, and let joy fill your heart, your soul, and get that orgasmic feeling every day, because you have the power to create that within you. And I'm done. Oh, I need to turn it over to handing the mic to Miss Shari, America's Joy Magnet. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Rochelle. Hey, everyone. Happy International Day of Happiness. First, I want to congratulate everybody just for being here, because you all have gifted yourself an opportunity to feel more joy. So I'm going to hit start, because now I'm starting my 5. Thank you, Meaghan, for the inspiration. So I found joy in the most unexpected of places. I come from a background, and I talk very openly about childhood trauma, and I've always had this smile on my face, and people have always commented and said, "You're so happy." And I remember it was 1999. I had just moved to Los Angeles to become a movie star, and I was waiting tables, and I was just so genuinely happy and excited to be working and living my dream, going after it. And I remember one night I walked up to this table, and as I always was, I was like, "Hi, can I get you started with a drink?" And this woman just glares at me over her menu, and she's like, "What do you have to be so happy about?" And I remember thinking, oof, because I am not you. But I figured I probably should not say that, as that might have some kind of effect on the tip. But I remember walking away, honestly, and thinking, what do I have to be so happy about? And am I really that happy? And that first question had me thinking for years about that, because when I looked at everything on paper, when I looked at the abuse that I had experienced, when I looked down at my body and I was living in a really unhealthy body, and I looked at my relationships, none of that screamed happiness. And then in 2010, there was the catastrophic earthquake in Port-au-Prince, Haiti. And I had never done any mission work before, but I had gotten this call that I need to go help. And I found myself, after that first thought that I need to help, a week and a half later on a plane to Haiti to bring supplies and help rebuild an orphanage and a school. And I remember thinking along the way, that I and all of us on this trip were going to go and serve them and help them and bring them all of the supplies and all of the love and all of the hugs. And when we got there, it was everything that you could imagine that would have been there. It was devastation. It was children on stretchers. It was children without limbs. It was parents who had lost their kids. And as I looked around, I noticed something that was palpable, something that I couldn't ever put a finger on. And it was joy. There, under a tree, on a makeshift church service on Sunday, these kids and these parents and all of them were singing, and there were smiles like I had never seen before. And it was this feeling that I was like, oh, this is what joy is. And what I discovered that day was that joy had nothing to do with any material stuff that we hold. That joy had nothing to do with our external circumstances, that they knew something and felt something that I wanted to know more about. And so from the time that I returned back home, I made it my mission to understand joy just a little bit more. I started talking to people. I started connecting with myself, trying to understand what joy actually was and what it looked like. And what I have come to find about the power of joy was what I just said, that it didn't need anything outside of us, but that we were the engine, that joy was our engine, and all it needed were 5 spark plugs. And for me, these 5 sparks come down to connection to ourself, connection to each other, connection to our creativity, to our meaning and purpose, and then connection to our planet. And every time that I make those my daily 5, my connection, my joy is ignited. And so I have made this my mission to help people connect back to themselves and to remember that when you feel joy, when you gift yourself these opportunities of joy, we end up being more resilient. We end up being more creative. We have better relationships with each other. We have more fun. And most importantly, we love ourselves just a little bit more. And for me, every time that something challenging happens in my life, I have created a soft landing pad within, and that allows the bounce back. And so I just want to remind you that joy has always and will always be in you. And there's nothing outside of you that will ever create what it is that you already are. So with that said, I want to turn this over to Vicki, for Vicki to share with us what the power of joy means to her.
I have to come off of mute. Well, how could I not be excited after that so far? What a blessing and a privilege it is to be here, everyone, tonight. I am Vicki J. O'Grady-Longo. Everyone as of late thinks my mom, who's listening, hi mom, that she made a mistake when she named me Vicki Joy. Vicki J, she should have named me Vicki Joy. So all my life, I have been looking for happy people. I too come from a traumatized childhood, which we don't need to go into, but there were a lot of situations growing up where I was happy to go to church and mom let us have play dates with other families that appeared different than ours. And I got to see different ways of life. So ever since I was about 11 years old, I started sorting for joy and trying to understand what helped people be motivated to heal from trauma and situations. And fast forward, I became a geneticist and I started studying the DNA of joy. And I now work in the pharmaceutical industry, and I get to do this every day for my colleagues and the doctors and nurses and all the healthcare professionals that I serve. So for me, joy starts with the DNA of joy, which is in each one of us. We each replicate our DNA every day, and we can each choose to replicate joy in our hearts. And how do we do that? I came up with a little saying called live in jagged. So every day we wake up, we have a chance to live with joy, abundance, grace, and gratitude. Joy never travels alone. It's always found with abundance and gratitude. And that's the jag of life. And each one of us can tap into that. And one of the first and easiest ways that I started to find joy in my life was I started to sit in a seat of awe. Awe is so important. Awe and wonder. We need to teach our children not to be happy. We need to teach them to be content, because happiness is fleeting. It doesn't stay. It's momentarily. It's just, it's here and now. But joy is eternal. Joy is in our heart, and joy is a mission field for me, and it's a passion project. And when you are remembering, connecting, and celebrating your life with other people, you are rooted in living. You're in the present. So I have to say, Mommy, thank you for all the times when we didn't have anything, but you taught Wendy and Amy and I that we always had enough. We always had something else to give away, even if it was a can of peas. So here I am later on in my life, and I've become a joy kindler, somebody who kindles joy for herself and for the people around me. And it is probably the best currency I've ever tapped into, because joy, it just produces more joy. And when you're living in this way of joyfulness, you are redeemed, you are renewed, and you are restored. So my job is to help inspire you and inspire hearts around me. I'm not sure where I am in the 5 minutes, but just my whole life's mission is to just be here, to be present. The world is so weary right now. I'm so happy that the Finns are the happiest country in the world, but I would like for the United States of America to win that award. We have a way to get back. We just have to connect with each other's hearts. And we just have to make a promise that when we wake up every day, we're content with what we have. We love what we're surrounded with. And that when we go out, we hear the wind, we see the leaves, we notice a flower, that you can sit and wonder in awe of the gifts that we've been given. And what do? We give those gifts to each other. We lift people up. We inspire, we motivate. Because when you have joy in your heart, you have passion. And passion sparks praise. And when you praise other people around you, and you lift up your coworkers, and you lift up the people that you see day to day, you change the world. So that's my story.
Beautiful. I don't know what to say. I'm so in awe, I suppose is the word, Vicki, of all of you. And you've shared already so many wonderful stories and so many wonderful words. And we're going to have a bit more of a discussion in a moment, just to bask in the glory of the Finns, even though I'm not finished. But I've lived there for 30 odd years, so I can count myself as almost finished. It's interesting when you look at the World Happiness Report that they're not really talking about happiness. They're talking about something called life satisfaction, is what they're measuring. And obviously money is a part of it to a certain degree. If you don't have any money, then it is hard to feel joyful if you're struggling. But once you get past that level, some of the other things that come up in the report is social support. So belonging, something you've all talked about, I think. It's about a healthy life expectancy, that you're not feeling you're living in a polluted. So the planet, I think, Shari, you talked about the planet, right? How important that is to us. And then freedom to make choices is a huge one in terms of the ability to feel this life satisfaction. And finally, really freedom from corruption, which is also something the Nordics are pretty good at. So there's a lot going for the Nordics apart from the weather. So if you don't like cold, don't go there. So having said that, we're now going to have a little bit of a discussion, and I'd like the discussion to start just by, I know you've already said many wonderful things people can do, but now I'm going to put you all on the spot and say you now have to boil it down to one thing, one tip that you'd like to leave the people listening with on how they can build more joy in their lives, no matter if they're the most joyful person already or if they're suffering to get out of bed in the morning. What can they do to find more joy? So Vicki, you're on the mic still, so you say your little tip for the best and then pass it on to Shari, and we'll run it through there. And then you guys are just going to discuss and talk, and I'm going to come back when I think the time is right and open it up to Q&A with Debbie. But you guys just have a blast. You're so good.
Okay, so we all know that one of the ways of finding more joy is to practice gratitude. And I'm a part of a movement called I'm Grateful for You with a friend of mine, Kevin Monroe. And we have these little cards that we carry in our wallet that say, I'm grateful for you. And I actually just wrote one to myself this past week, because sometimes we need to remember what we're grateful for about ourselves. So one amazing tip that I can offer all of you is to extend gratitude to another human being. And that fills your well up with joy, and you have an inner reflection, and that creates warmth. And that warmth creates opportunities for other people to pass it on. And I would say that sometimes I like to play with words. And sometimes I say that the word joy stands for just overcome yourself. Just get going, just start onward, one step, do one thing. You feel bad, write a thank you note to someone else. You need encouragement, encourage someone else. You want more joy in your life? It starts with getting out of your own way. Just put joy first. Shari?
Yes. So if I were to give any tip on being able to increase your joy muscle, as we say here at the Art and Science of Joy, for me, it would be about slowing down. We are always going and rushing and on to the next thing. And even when we're in this thing, we're thinking about something else. And so one of the things that I do daily that has helped so much is that I set alarms on my phone. So my alarm goes off on my phone every hour. And at that hour, I either deep breathe, or I wrap my arms around myself and give myself a hug. I take a moment and I think about something that I'm grateful for, or I feel into my senses, something that I could smell, something that I could taste, that I could see. But those hourly alarms really have me get out of the goingness of everything and really feel focused and centered and present. And that is what's really helpful for me. Rochel, what about you? What's one of your tips?
So one of my tips is to feed and nourish your soul. And the way you do that is not being so hard upon yourself for the mistakes that you make in life, because the fact that you've made a mistake in life is meaning that you're actually living life. So often we get down on ourselves, or we compare ourselves to others, and that is really the cause of unhappiness. But if you step back and you take a self-reflection of yourself and realize that the most important person on this planet is you, and you begin to love yourself unconditionally for all the good and the bad that's inside you, then you're able to step into really tapping into your soul and looking at your soul and saying, you know what, I might be flawed, but doggone it, I'm good. And I'm recognizing that I'm flawed, and it's okay, because I love myself for the goodness and I love myself for the flaws. The other thing, I'm a huge proponent of meditation, and I'm a certified meditation specialist. And one of the wonderful things that you can do to enhance feeding and nourishing your soul is take a walk outside, or just go sit outside for a moment. I happen to live in a place where I have all kinds of animals come and talk to me and communicate with me, and I love it. But the one thing I love is watching the squirrels. They are so cute. They move so cute. They're ebbing and flowing. They get their little nuts and they dig in the dirt, and they're just happy, and they see you, and they just always seem like they're just smiling, and they're just joyful to be present in nature doing what they're doing. You never see a squirrel unhappy, and you never see nature unhappy, not unless they've gotten hit by a car or something like that. But nature and animals are just a beautiful essence and a reflection of how we should treat ourselves. They nourish themselves, and they really don't care about anything but nourishing themselves. And so I say to all of you watching us, take a moment out of each hour and just love and nourish your soul. If you have to go outside and look at nature or listen to the birds sing, be grateful for that, because that really is loving and nourishing your soul. And it will help you to get through the good times as well as the challenging times, because you're making yourself a priority so that you can be the best for not only yourself, but for those you love and care about. And so I'm going to pass it on to Meaghan. Tag Meaghan, girl, you're it.
Thank you, Rochel Marie, my chance to get your name right. Yay! When I first decided that maybe it wouldn't be so bad to be happy, I was very skeptical of all this joy business. And the way I approached it was by, instead of saying like, what makes me joyful? I literally said to myself, what doesn't suck today? And what can I like look for that doesn't suck? And that's how my joy journey began, which was simply by finding something every day that didn't suck. And ultimately, I realized that nothing actually sucked, and I completely retrained my brain. And then I said, "Oh, what made me say yay today?" And I underwent a transformation. But at a very low point in my life, I had just lost my dad to pancreatic cancer. Like I had been through the things, and I really was having a hard time getting out of bed. And the thought of saying like, "Okay, I'm gonna go find joy," like I wasn't buying it. I was too cynical, too skeptical, and just too angry to do that. But by tasking myself, by finding something that didn't suck, I was able to begin that journey. And once you begin that journey and you start to live differently, you get addicted to how damn good it feels. I mean, I've never had the joy orgasm, Rochel Marie, but I'm hearing that and fascinated. Former Cosmo editor here, by the way. But that's what I like. So if anybody here listening is skeptical or like doesn't even know where to begin, maybe the place to begin is just saying, what doesn't suck today? What doesn't suck? For me, that journey was like, oh my gosh, the daffodils at the bottom of my walker are blooming. Well, that doesn't suck. And I would take a picture and I would post it on Instagram with the hashtag. Like for me at the point, it was like, you know, finding the yay, Operation Good Grief. Like I was moving through some stuff. But the more I did that, the more I retrained this brain. And now I automatically see amazing, good, beautiful, wonderful things. And I don't even try very hard. And I can't believe I was once Neggy Meggy who wore a grumpy charm. So maybe find the thing that doesn't suck. That's my advice. And I'm going to go to Cindi.
So for me, paying it forward has always been like brushing my teeth every day. It's just a natural habit that has caused me to have more joy. And when people think about paying it forward, they think, oh, well, I don't have the money to do that. All the things I do are free, like 99%. When I am in a restaurant and I want to pay for someone's meal, that is the exception. On a daily basis, the things are free. Like I'm grocery shopping and I let two people in line from behind me go in front of me. I mean, that's just a given. I don't care how many times they go like, no, are you sure? Yes, I'm sure, go. About like garbage day, taking in other people's garbage cans and rolling them up the driveway. It's easier to take them out, but no one really likes to bring them back. They're kind of a pain in the butt. So I just have always, I've lived in 10 states, multiple neighborhoods. I've always been the one that, you know, for the longest time, no one knew I was doing it. I would do it very anonymously, but like then people caught on, I think. But I like to do things if I can anonymously. That's my ultimate goal. You know, paying for someone behind you in, you know, a line that you're in, food, coffee, whatever. That's also a given. But the little things, a compliment, okay, a smile, can I help you to a coworker, take something off their plate. If you're on LinkedIn, write a recommendation. Introduce two people together. These are things that are free and they cause joy. So just like my mind is always wherever I'm at, start like going like this, like, what can I do? What can I do to pay it forward? It's like, I'm looking for it. You have to look outside yourself, get off your phone and be aware and look to see what you could do to pay it forward. And I'm telling you, there is so much and it is all free. So give up your time, your energy, your help, your just give. It's all about giving.
I love that.
Well,
Well, I was gonna say, because when you were talking, Meaghan, about what doesn't suck in your day, I think that point that you brought up specifically about that sometimes when you're in the heart of it, that it's really hard to be able to not only see and find the joy, like to just get out of bed in the morning. And I've had a lot of pushback over the years, towards my joy and positivity, and people being like, well, what if life is like this and that? And it's understandable. And so I think that was so powerful what you shared about just being able to find that one thing that isn't bad, because when you open up your mind, as you said, and you start to recognize that and you have the awareness of it, then that one little thing turns into two things, into three things. And so it's like, it's not such a big leap for people to
Well, I
go.
think the thing too is because toxic positivity is so buzzy now.
Yep.
And like the goal is not to fart rainbows, right? Like we're not trying to fart rainbows. Like maybe someday if we can have the Rochel Marie, joy orgasm and the rainbows come, awesome. But I think it can be so daunting, and people will look at people like us and be like, oh yeah, well, and that seems unobtainable and unrealistic. And so sometimes I think when I come at it from a place of like, listen, I'm not asking you to fart rainbows, but I bet you something in your day didn't suck. Let's just sit and think about that. Like, what didn't suck? And I do it a lot with my kids, right? Because if I said to my kids, what are you grateful for? They'd be like, Mom, like, stop. I'm like, but if I say to them, like, tell me something, like, what was something that wasn't so bad about your day? And be like, well, I did get an A on my spelling test. You're like, oh my gosh. And then the ripple effect, right? Because like good energy, positivity, all these things do tend to cascade and be contagious.
what you focus on expands. If you're looking for the negative, you're going to find tons of it. If you're looking for positive, you're going to find tons of it. Guess what? Choice is yours. Choose to focus on the positive, even the small little things. Literally one day I was walking to my mailbox and I found a leaf that was broken off in the middle of it. I still have it on my dresser and it had a shape of a heart. That made my whole day. It's the little things. The little things are the big things. We just need to look for them.
Yes. And there's always joy in sorrow, and there's always gratefulness in adversity. And some of the most well-mannered and well-tempered people show that in their reactions to the most difficult circumstances in life. Like, you're not guaranteed that life is going to be easy, but it certainly helps when you sort differently. And when you remember that you just overcome yourself by reaching out to someone else. That's why humans are in communities, because we need each other. And when someone else is hurting and you give yourself, that actually induces joy. It's a chemical reaction.
I think when we have the acceptance, it goes along the same lines that I think we put so much pressure on ourselves to be happy that we have to feel joy. And when we can just accept, for me, joy came from the full acceptance of all of my emotions. Like to allow myself to feel it all, and not to pitch a tent in those really like difficult ones, but to accept that they're there, and and you move through it anytime. And I remember hearing this one time and I thought it was pretty powerful. It said that if you actually just sat in your emotion and allowed yourself to feel it, I think it lasts about 10 minutes and then you move through it. But because we have so much resistance to it, because we're like, no, I have to be happy, or I shouldn't feel this way, or I should be grateful, or we continue to create that negativity around it, and we stay in situations a lot longer than we need to. So just acceptance.
Yeah. Get rid of the shoulds.
Yes.
I agree.
These are our shoulders. That's why they're always hurting. Our shoulders.
I always say we're shooting all over ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
I think we have, I don't know if we're starting Q&A now or not, but I know that there's some questions. I don't know, Andrew, if we're still chatting or. Let's see.
I did see something in Q&A.
I'm going to come back on, and first of all, thank you all for sharing. Oh my gosh, your wonderful stories, your tips, and what looked like your heart and your soul. So thank you so much. We do have a couple of questions, so I'm going to get them out there, and I think they're to everyone. So one person, Olivia, says, what's your first joy thing in the morning? What is that first thing you do that gets you into that feeling of joy?
Mine is just praying and saying thank you for the gift of today, because not everyone gets the gift to wake up in the morning. So I'm just thankful first that I'm just alive, breathing, eyes are open. I have eyes. I can actually see, and I say that because I've met many people that can't. So it's the smallest things, but those are huge. So yes, just always be grateful for being alive.
Me too, Cindy. Me too. When I wake up in the morning, when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is I recognize, I have the awareness that I'm alive, and I take a deep breath, and I'm grateful, and I thank God for another day to go out and serve. And that's the day for me, is about service, because when we serve others, we actually get served ourselves. And I think there's a reciprocity with servant leadership that a lot of people miss out on. It's not about taking, it's about giving. So I love waking up because I'm like, yay, I have another day.
You're muted, Rochel.
Which is even funnier.
Yeah. I mean, you get a new opportunity to, I always say, do better. Each day is going to have challenges. Life is all about challenges. Without challenges, there's no growth. And without struggle, there's no experiences. So just being grateful in the morning and realizing that you got another opportunity to try it again and make it better. That is a blessing, because so many people don't get that. And, I haven't heard from the other side, whether they're like thankful they don't got it because they don't have to deal with all this stuff. They're just ebbing and flowing in heaven or hell with all their friends. But yeah, it's beautiful just to have that new day and that new dawn and that new opportunity to do it all over again, just a little bit better.
Here's another question for you ladies. If you have really bad anxiety and depression, or barely sleeping even on meds, how can you get motivated to get off the couch to do anything?
Well, I am a recovering anxiety-ridden person. I used to have tremendously terrible panic attacks, and I started to realize I wasn't alone, and I surrounded myself with positive people, and I made sure that I got some really good therapy. And I made sure that I had what I call like rescue calls. So there were people that I could call. So you have to have people in your life that you can reach out to that understand what it is to have an anxiety disorder. Because if people don't have an anxiety disorder, they don't understand what that feeling of fleeing feels like. So when you're in bed, or you're afraid to fall asleep for whatever reason, or you're startled out of sleep, I find that journaling, even if it's in the middle of the night, I just start writing out what I'm worried about. And then I can tell my mind to rest, and I can think about that tomorrow morning when I wake up, because it's in the journal. That's just one way.
I'll say, so I actually deal with anxiety. So I don't talk about it that much, but I do share with people. So when you asked the previous question about first thing in the morning, so for me, I can wake up in anxiety and feel that. And I know that that's in my nervous system from whatever's happened. But so I often daily place my hands on my heart just to connect me back. But what that does for me with my anxiety is that it reminds me again about being alive, but also it is a nurturing touch and comfort. And I do that with myself a lot. Like, that's why hugs are so important to me. So when I am feeling anxious or whatever it is, I wrap my arms around myself, remind myself of my safety, and tell myself every day that I love myself and I got you, and whatever it is that I need to hear. And sometimes it's not debilitating for me. So I get up, I go hiking, I do all the things, but I still manage it daily. And I would say for you, if you can find that one little thing, whether it's just listening to a song, or whether it's just moving your leg from on the couch or on the bed to hanging off of it, those small little victories for yourself, those tiny things, allow yourself to see them and recognize them and celebrate yourself for those.
Yes.
Such
It
good
might-
advice.
It might sound counterintuitive, but in my journal, I also have a victory column. So I have a prayer column and a victory column. And when I overcome these things that Shari and Cindi are speaking to, you can go back and assure yourself that you overcame it and that you actually had victory in your anxiety and you had victory overcoming yourself. And I think it's so important because we don't celebrate the victories and we win every day.
And it gives you the confidence then that the next time you have the anxious feeling, whatever, that you can get through it again because you see that you have done it before. So it's like awareness of that.
Yeah, deposits.
It's great. Another question here. Could you please share the biggest change you have made recently because of your joy journey?
Mm.
I feel like I've been on the joy journey so long, so I'm like,
know.
I'm like, it's been challenging. Like, what has actually changed? But I think that I've stepped because of my joy. I've stepped more into my power, like, and more into my creativity and putting myself out there even more, believing in myself, because I know that even if in the big risks that I take and the things that I go after, that if I get a no, that I'll be okay. That I have, as I said before, that soft landing pad inside, that it doesn't matter who the no's come from. So it's, for me, it's been about just continually taking bigger and bigger risks of things that bring me joy and that I want to do.
I went through a double mastectomy in October, so I've had like a very intense medical journey. And so reclaiming my yay through this medical journey has been really interesting, like just treating myself with lots of grace and having extreme gratitude when I can lift my arms over my head again and not walking like a T-Rex, like these little things. So I've had, the past 5 months have been pretty insane for me. But I feel like me again, and that's pretty exciting. And it has been because I've leaned into all of those little micro actions in my happiness handbook and toolkit that I already knew would inch me forward. But again, it is what, like the day when I got lice, when I came home from the hospital from a double mastectomy and couldn't shower or scratch my head or lift my arms, like that was a pretty bad low point. But I figured, you know what, all I can control now is my reaction, so I better laugh at this lice. And we did, we laughed. And my bald husband, who's the only one who didn't get it, was really laughing. But I think that's the key, is like trying to establish this toolkit and really pulling out different tools when things get really tough, but knowing those tools are there for you and there's different tools that are going to work at different times.
Yeah. So for me, it was just really speaking to joy as a mission field. I was in grad school a couple of years ago, and I did a thesis on the soul of a corporation is based on the soul of its people. And it just made me move forward at the corporation that I'm at, which is a huge worldwide company. And I've stepped forward as their chief joy officer. And I've pitched it as a role to HR. Why not? We need joy. And there's a whole umbrella of opportunity in being an advocate for joy.
I have one question. How do people make these funny little hearts and clappy hands on the Zoom? I want to learn how to do that because that brings me joy and I don't know how to make them.
Look under the reactions. If you go down at the bottom and click on reaction.
Oh!
Yeah, girl. Yeah.
Oh, stop it
Oh
now.
no, we're the
Stop
no
me some
stopping
joy.
Meaghan now.
Oh.
We just lit up Meaghan's joy. We just ignited it.
She on fire now.
I have
The
to
whole
spend
entire hour to get to emojis.
100% my yay for the day. Now I can ta-da during a Zoom.
Look at all these hearts and laughs
This
and
is
smiles
so
and
cool.
celebrations. It's beautiful. So everybody's welcome to join now in the after party. Thank you, our wonderful panelists. Cindi had to jump off. Something else. Anybody who wants to come on and share what brings them joy or any other little story, they're welcome to do so. Absolutely, would love to hear from some of the people listening. So you've all been invited, but if you're feeling shy, you don't have to come on camera either. You can just talk your joy.
So
Talk
did you
your joy.
celebrate, Andrew, when you heard that Finland was the #1 again in happiness, life?
Yeah, six years in a row, 6 years in a row. And it always wonders me because, anybody who's been there knows that they're not joyful as we maybe would consider joyful, even happy in that respect, but they are contented.
Yeah.
Right. And I think
Yes.
it's the social aspect of them that, nobody's left behind. So, this is statistics, right? So the average in Finland is brought up because everybody's reasonably well. Whereas in the US, when you look at their data, there's a huge gap between those who feel joy and feel they have a good life and those who don't. And there's nothing in the US system which helps bring those people who are down, helps bring them up. So it's beholden of wonderful people like yourselves to take on that role, obviously, and to help one conversation, one book at a time, to help people find that inner joy within them. But in Finland, the system helps to some extent. Everybody gets an education for free. Everybody gets healthcare, all of these basic things that are not basic in the US, from what I understand. So, I think there are many, many joyful people in America. And when we read the media, we think there might not be.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
I think having a session like today reminds us that, I've been in tears half the time just listening to your stories. Even Rochel's joy orgasm, which was wonderful. So it's like, we just need to get you guys in the news, right? We need to get you guys filling up the social media, telling the stories, telling the world is right. Well, you're doing it. Let's all do it. Let's all get out there and change the dynamic. Words are so important, and if we're just using the words, if you read the headlines, even in the UK, even in the educated press, I think when I did in my analysis, it was 7 negative headlines, 2 neutral and 1 positive. Right.
Yeah.
That's if you're scrolling, that's what you're going to get, right? You're going to doom scroll and you're going to get, I don't know what that number is, 80 out of 100.
Andrew, there's someone.
Andrew, you need to unmute everyone.
Yeah, someone's
Oh,
asking how to
From
come
people
off.
who want to talk, but they're muted. There we go.
I'm getting a text message from my daughter who needs to get picked up. So I'm going to get off in 5 minutes. So I can get her at 8:30.
Okay.
All right. So now you can speak, everyone.
I made them a panelist, but I couldn't make them talk, apparently.
Everyone's so shy.
Yeah, come on.
I'll
I'm
say
gonna shut up
something.
now, so I'm gonna
I'll
mute
say
myself.
something.
There you go.
But how do I put my camera on? Is my camera on?
Video.
No.
No. Okay.
Oh.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you. Vicki's my good friend, and she is our Chief Joy Officer for my company. But I just wanted to say something that helps me is I typed it in the chat, is I pause, and that might be just taking a breath, looking around at nature. I pause, I pray, and I praise. And that praise could be singing, it could be a gratitude list. And that helps, is an easy way to, reset myself. And what's beautiful is all we have to do is the next right thing. Because when people were talking about anxiety or resetting ourselves, or that's just what I wanted to share. But thank you all, did a beautiful job. I'm so grateful. I'm much richer because I spent an hour with you. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
Thanks, Dee. I was going to tell you.
Doing some reactions. Here I go, guys. Here I go.
I was just thinking that as I saw him.
I found it remarkable that in the World Happiness Report, the #1 attribute and trait is kindness, and how much of that we didn't even, I don't think any of us talked about kindness tonight, but that plays such a huge part in joyfulness, being kind to ourselves, and then that causes us to be kinder to other people. And again, teaching children to be kind, teaching children to be content, even more so than being happy. That's like my new thing, because, I have a 29-year-old daughter and is always trying to make Kelsey happy. And now I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I wish I just would have helped her find contentment.
Yeah.
Because there's a whole generation of kids out there that it's not enough. Never enough.
That was the
Yeah.
biggest thing when I spoke at TEDx at a college at Syracuse.
Yeah.
And I was talking, one of the students came over to me and he just said, "Thank you. You made me feel like where I'm at is enough." Like just that feeling, because they feel like they have to do it all. So
Yeah. Can I add another comment?
Yes.
So I work with the college students here in my town. There's a university here. And I think Vicki alluded to this. They just want to be seen and heard. Everybody just wants to be seen and heard. And I think that goes into the kindness that you were talking about. This is our future leaders, these college students, and they just want to be seen and heard, and they want a safe place to do that. And it starts with joy. So, and I'm definitely going to get those little cards. Thank you, Vicki.
You're welcome. They're amazing. It's I'm grateful for you.co if anyone's interested, and they're very inexpensive.
That's fantastic. Yeah, the kindness is interesting because it really is something that not only benefits the person you're being kind to, but it also benefits yourself immensely. So I remember one of my podcast guests early on, a gentleman called Richard Louis, who wrote a book on selflessness. And his basic science research showed that being selfless was the most selfish thing you could do. It made you live longer. It made you earn more money. It made you attract people to yourself. So it was hugely selfish to be selfless, which was, we had a big laugh about, but it's the same with kindness, right? It's a gift you give and a gift you receive.
I just want to say, because I know Meaghan has to go, that y'all should grab a copy of Meaghan's book. No, honestly, it's super powerful, and it gives so much of, like, not only just the joy and the tips, but the science behind it and everything. So it changed so much for me too. So I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And thank you everybody for letting me spend some time with you. I have 3 kids, and like I'm in New Jersey, and right now is like getting them from places and making sure they eat and shower and do homework. It's like, and they have phones now. So like I'm getting texts. This is like a whole new thing for me.
And we want to keep you in your joy.
Yeah, find the
But
joy.
you know what?
Find the joy.
I'm gonna be in my joy for one more second. Ready, guys?
Meaghan, I'm in Nutley. Do you need me to pick anybody up for you?
Oh my gosh! I know. That's what I'm in Westfield.
Are you back?
I know, you're close.
Thanks.
Yay. All right, well, thank you, everybody. This was super fun. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you all. Thank you for inviting me, Shari.
You're welcome.
Yay, bye.
Awesome.
Okay, bye.
That's fine.
Bye.
If anybody does want to come on camera, apparently they have to, you should have been invited to be a panelist, and you have to accept that invitation before you can then show your video if you want to do so. At least I was told that, but I have no idea. I'm not technically minded, as anybody who knows me knows. It's not, my joy is not in machines. I broke my computer and my phone for the last couple of days. So it's been,
I think
joyful.
since everyone's on here, though, there should be an icon at the bottom that says start video or stop video, I think.
There isn't. There
Okay,
isn't.
well, then.
no, well, I'm
audio.
awfully sorry. Sorry about my technical skills.
Well, I just wanted to say hi. My name is Vashti Chapman. I'm here in Cincinnati, Ohio. This has been a great way to end my night. Everything that I heard today just filled my soul. I believe that I am on this earth to bring joy and to give love in everything that I do. So it's just something that comes natural to me. And I'm excited to see this group coming to life. Andrew, I met you in Chicago last September at the Insights Association Executive Leadership Conference. I brought positive intelligence to that conference, and you told me that you were bringing this forward, and it's just so exciting to see it. I love this, and I'm looking forward to supporting and following, and hopefully continue to be kind and help people find ways to be content. But I'm just so filled. And I just wanted to say it's a great way to wrap up what was a tough Monday morning and Monday afternoon. But I found my joy in it. So even with the challenges today, it's being intentional about finding joy and finding ways to be kind and move through and navigate the tough moments. So what an awesome way to end the tough day. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I do have to hop, but I just had to say thank you to everyone. This was such a great panel, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you. Thank you.
And if nobody's
echo
tried
that
it yet,
too.
I can certainly recommend the Positive Intelligence PQ reps. So they have a
Yes.
wonderful little methodology of whether that's breathing, or I like doing these little finger ups whenever I'm feeling a little bit, although I forgot all about that over the weekend. But when I remember, it really gets me back into the space. And some people like breathing, but taking these little micro moments, I think you guys talked about earlier. Yeah. And I know you've done it, Shari, right? You've been.
I have. I was, yeah, and I actually did it on my walk yesterday or the day before when it wasn't raining. It was something that I was like, oh yeah, the fingertips, let's do that. It's another form of getting super present.
Yes.
And I'm just going to say, because I'm
What was the fingertips? Can you explain what that is?
You want to explain, Andrew?
No, Shari, you do it.
Okay. It's about being aware. So it's about rubbing your thumb and your pointer finger together and actually paying close attention to feeling the ridges on your finger, one finger at a time. So concentrating on the ridges of your pointer finger, being able to like close your eyes and feel that, and then switch over to where you feel the fingerprints, to feel the ridges on your thumb. And that just brings you super present into the moment. And I say it gets me out of my head, like when I find myself, in the spin. So
Yeah. I know that another really good saying is get out of your head and into your sneakers. Go on a joy jaunt. So take yourself on a jaunt, whatever that is, whether it's sitting in the grass, watching water, being very aware, sitting in the awe of nature. That's a very important way to actually get joy going, because you're just hyper aware of what you're looking at. And we spend so much time on devices and screens, and it's just so important to have tech-free time zones. So from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., my phone is off. It's in the cradle, it's on the charger, and it kills me not to look sometimes. But you have to be untethered. There has to be moments where you can just eddy out, I call it, the part of the river that flows backwards when you're kayaking and you just can't stay in the rapids anymore. You find that part of the river that flows backwards. It's the same thing with life. We all need to eddy out once in a while, and you need to be untethered. So that's kind of like this thing, only it's like you're actually like hearing, all your senses are involved. Like it's why so many people love to go to the ocean, right? Because they hear the waves, they feel the sand, they see the sun.
Can I speak up?
Yes.
Sure. Okay. I'm a friend of Vicki's. I live in Florida now. I think she probably knows who I am. I just want to say that this has been very worthwhile to listen to, and I gained some good insights. And I will also say the one that I resonated with the most was to feel your emotions, because I, for decades, was in a very, very challenging place where I couldn't express. I was in therapy and I did all the right things to get better, but with the family I grew up with and was surrounded with, it was very toxic, and I couldn't speak up, and I didn't have a voice, and I stifled so much inside of me that it took on a life of its own. And as I came off of medication recently, which was a victory in itself, a lot of the rage and anger and all that mess started surfacing again, even though I'd been in therapy for many years. It was surfacing because it was held down with the medicine. And so I've been going through a lot of anger and rage and getting better, seeing more and more light and more joy. But to feel those feelings of anger and let yourself feel them and not feel guilty about having the feelings, because I had so much guilt in my life from being suppressed, and and made to feel I couldn't express myself, that I had so much anger in me about that, and that I was sick for so many decades, that I'm now saying it's coming out and I'm being myself more, and it feels freeing, very freeing. But gosh, are the angry feelings scary and rage feelings scary, but I sit with them and I let myself feel it. And sometimes I punch a pillow or scream when I'm by myself to let it out. Sometimes I curse at God, and but doing all of that and allowing it has allowed me to come to a whole nother level of feeling free. And I really don't feel so guilty about it anymore. And that's been the biggest victory in my life. And that Vicki introduced me to this gratitude thing a couple of years ago when I was taking part in a webinar, then kind of cracked the door open. And I just thank you for that, Vicki. And that's why I joined in this webinar, because I thought, this has got to be more good stuff. And I'm in a much better place to receive joy now. And I love my life so much more, and the people in it, and love myself.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you.
Yeah. And
For sharing, Grace.
And thank you for letting us hold your story. Your story has helped us. And
and I cannot state enough, as scary as it has been to let the anger come out and the rage, and to feel it, and then to feel so scared by it. Oh my God, these feelings, they're so strong, but then it just brings you to a whole nother level. And I was dealing with it just before the webinar. Where I was angry, and I was like, I don't think I could do this webinar, I'm angry.
Well, a beautiful gift to allow yourself to feel that. And I think it is important to say that I have found that joy is that's my cat scratching in the background, wants to be fed. That joy is a container for all emotions. I feel like joy allows us to feel that also. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to. And I can't believe I spoke up, but I'm getting braver, I guess. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It's wonderful. I mean, it really is all the emotions. And I suppose it's, I don't know whether it was the 10-second rule or whatever it was to let it out, but don't let it spiral down, because I find that's my fault if I don't stop it, that I just somehow get in this loop that drags me down until it's so low it's really hard to get out of that anymore. So to have ways to try and break that, but not suppress it. So it's a challenge, right, to find that balance. You don't want to suppress, but at the same time you don't want to wallow in it like a hippopotamus. Yeah. So
okay. Well, if I could just be so bold for everyone that's here, if you haven't already, we give wonderful tools at the Year of Joy, which is from the Art and Science of Joy, Andrew Cannon and Debbie Schlesinger-Hellman. If I could I put the link in there. I just want to share, because there's so many tools in there and experts, and our Joy Superpower experts that you can connect to that will help with the things that you're talking about, that will teach about the different areas of joy. So I just think it's a really good resource.
Yeah, and Rochel's been teaching us all about purpose in the community. So thank you, Rochel Marie, for doing that. I know I had a wonderful time on our podcast talking with you about purpose and finding purpose and living one's purpose. And it's an amazing story that Rochel Marie has to share. So we share the chat, we share all of the links, we share the recording. And we're also going to put it up on YouTube. So anybody who wants to watch this again and again and again and again, you are more than welcome to do so. You are more than welcome to share it to anybody you think could do with a bit of joy, whether it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all days are joy days. We just want to spread this message as far and wide as we can, and try and drown out a little bit of the negative message that some of the other medias in the world are throwing our way. So if we can all do our little bit to elevate the energy. I think Rochel talks a lot about energy, and I think it's
there's a ripple
I
effect.
want to share something too. So if you want to see and hear my interview with Andrew. He's putting it on me, but I had a dynamite, powerful interview with Andrew, where we talked about some really good things. And just check me out on my YouTube channel, or go to YouTube and check me out, and you'll find my interview with Andrew, and you'll be amazed at what he has to say. He's being really charismatic and very keeping us on, on the toe, so to speak. But I bring some stuff out of him and kind of tilt him a little bit, and it was really fun. So
yeah, I think we might even talk about
joy.
At that point. Yeah.
My mother is listening.
It's
all
all
right.
good.
She's
It's all
allowed.
good.
She's
It's all
allowed them
good.
as well. No worries. There's no upper age limit.
No.
Speaking of mothers, it's so important for children to have a positive environment as a kid. And I'm very lucky in that regard, that I feel I've had strong parents who were not wealthy, who came from, my mother was born in Sicily, and but we were given strength as kids, and how important that is. Thank you, parents.
Thank you, Diane.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, parents are so super important. Those first 5 years especially are just so crucial in how children get the baggage that they're going to carry with them for the rest of their lives, and we can deal with it, but we can never really shake it off. So, the role parents play, and grandparents, can't be underestimated. I think the more we can bring grandparents back into the picture, the more that we can allow the young children to be with other adults who aren't their parents. I long for that time in society where, you had that broader sense of community, and hopefully we move back to that we're not always just in these little boxes living our own little lives, but we find power in community. I think is, life's tough, and I think having other people around you can help. So the more we can embrace that. I mean, kids are moving home again, apparently. So everybody embrace their 35-year-olds when they're knocking on the door saying, I want to come back home.
Well,
Find the joy.
We all know from the science that belonging is key for joy. So we know that. So any way we can encourage belonging, find your tribe, I always say. It could be family, it could be friends. It's, of course, all of those things, along with your coworkers or your friends at school, depending on where you are. But it's so important to have that sense of belonging. Diane, it's great to see you, and it's so nice to have you here. Diane was my first boss.
Wonderful. So the science we did, the research says 5 friends is your magic number. So 5 people you can call when you're in trouble. So proper friends, not Instagram friends. But real people, if you're having a bad day or whatever, go for a walk with you, chat to you. So try and cultivate that and make sure you have that and that little group, and rather than have 1,000 people that sort of wouldn't answer your phone call when you need it, make sure you have 5 that would, because 4 of them might be busy. So it's important to have there. But 10% of people in the US don't have anybody they would call a friend. Yes. So that's something as well. If you're thinking about it, maybe reach out to somebody and just offer them a word of friendship, of kindness, as Vicki said. And
I actually wrote a post about that this week. One of my calls to action was call someone today, someone live. And I cannot believe how many people messaged me back what came out of that phone call. And you just think about how many people read that and did it, right? You made me think about children, because when our daughter was younger, she was bullied, and we created a joy jar in our house, which was a mason jar. And anytime Kelsey did something that was exceptionally unique about her, and it wasn't obvious things, right? We would write them down and put these pieces of paper in this joy jar. And then that turned into an actual scrapbook with photos about different events in her life. And children need to belong, and they need to belong with their family, and they need to belong with themselves. and that's another whole conversation. But in those moments of bullying, which is a very big thing today, especially with young girls, as a matter of fact, the World Youth Report came out, and 1 in 3 girls between the ages of 15 and 29 has had suicidal tendencies in the last 2 years. 1 out of 3 girls. The article is called "The Girls Are Not All Right." So if you can have a jar of papers that you can pull out and read about yourself when you're alone in your room and it sits on your nightstand, or you have an album that you can take out and read about why you're special and how you're loved, that makes a difference. So as parents, you know, again, we can teach our children to be content, even more so than being happy, and realizing that they can belong with themselves, that they're okay.
Yeah, I'm going to share a link in the chat in a minute by somebody who I think is a wonderful person. He's a spoken poet called Adam Roa. And one of his most famous pieces is "You Are Who You've Been Looking For." And I'll share the link to that in the chat. And it really is powerful. People are looking outside for so much when they are enough, and they are more than enough. So, and the way he expresses it through his spoken poetry is just so beautiful. So I'll share that, and hopefully everybody will enjoy watching that 5 minutes of joy.
Would anyone else like to come off of mute and share with us their feedback or something that might be troubling you or something you've learned?
I see people are getting ready to leave. I think we've been on for as much as they had expected, but anyone else that's still here, we're having other live events throughout the year by Rochel Marie. And we're looking forward to seeing you at the other events, which will be equally as wonderful as this, I am sure. And if you're on the Year of Joy or follow us, you'll see when those are coming up. And we hope to see you at the next event. Thank you all for coming.